We're starting Be'ezus Hashem Sefer Haflah. The Rambam starts with a pasuk B'Shem Hashem Keleilam Nidves Pi Ritzeinu Hashem Mishpatecha Lamdeni Sefer Shishi V'Hu Sefer Haflah. The word Haflah, Lashon Ki Yafli, is a lashon of expressing himself. Yafli is a lashon of a person articulating himself. So these are halachas, these are dinim which comes through a person saying things b'dibur. Nachamal, the Sefer Shishi V'Hu Sefer Haflah. Hilches of Arba v'Zeu Siduram, Hilches Shavuos, Hilches Nedarim, Hilches Nazirus, and Hilches Erechem v'Charam. As we mentioned, that the Rambam in the Rambam Diyakim, you have that the Rambam here, right at this point in time, goes through Hilches Shavuos, says Yesh B'Cholol and Chamish Mitzvahs, and he mentions all the mitzvahs, and then he mentions all the mitzvahs of Hilches Nedarim, and all the mitzvahs of Nazirus, and all the mitzvahs of Erechem v'Charam. Then he starts again with Hilches Shavuos, Yesh B'Cholol and Chamish Mitzvahs, and he starts the halachas. So in other words, in each sefer he mentions all the mitzvahs of the sefer right away in the beginning as they are divided into the various halachas, and then he goes through Vipratius. He starts going through the halachas. Hilchas Shavuos. Yesh B'Cholol and Chamish Mitzvahs, Achas Mitzvahs Asei, V'Arba Mitzvahs Leiseseh, V'Zeu Pratin Aleph, Shalei Lishava B'Shmei L'Shaker, not to swear falsely, Leili Shava B'Shmei L'Sheker, when you're using Hashem's name, as we'll learn, and Beis Shalei Liso Shmei L'Shav, Gimel Shalei Lichper B'Pikodin, Daled Shalei Lishava Al Kfir Asmomen, and Hey Lishava B'Shmei Be'emes, Ubir Mitzvoselu V'Prokamelu Peri Krishna. Arba Minei Shavuos, which the Rambam is going to take Shavuos more of a prati, Shavuos Bitui, Ushvuas Shav, Ushvuas Hapikodin, Ushvuas Eidus. So 4 types of Shavuos, 4 separate types of Shavuos. Shavuos Bitui, Ushvuas Shav, Ushvuas Hapikodin, and Shavuos Eidus. Shavuos Bitui, what is Shavuos Bitui? Shenama Batera, a nefesh kisishava levate b'tzvasayim, lahara elahetiv. Levate b'tzvasayim literally means to articulate with your lips. But when the pasuk is talking about to articulate with your lips, what is the pasuk talking about? It's talking about lahara elahetiv. That's what the shvua is about, lahara elahetiv. Now the pashta touch of lahara elahetiv is lahaba. He's talking about what's going to happen in the future, lahara elahetiv. And Chazal learned that it's not only lahaba, but it's also la'avar. That when a person makes a shvua, and he talks about not only what's going to happen in the future, but also what happened in the past. And it's called the Shavuos Bita because that's how the Torah expresses itself. In other words, when the Torah speaks about Lahar Elahetiv, the Torah says, Yishava Levate B'Svasayim Lahar Elahetiv. V'hi nechlekes l'arbo chalokim. Shavuos Bita could be in 4 ways. It says, and Shtayim Lahaba, Ushtayim Lahava. There could be 2 ways Lahaba, and also 2 ways in the past, Kigain. Shenishba al davar sha'avar, shenasa shalei nasa. So that's in the avar 2 ways. Either he says that something happened or something didn't happen. And al davar sha'asad liyes, it could also be sheyasa over shalei yasa. He will do it or he won't do it. So memela, so you have l'sha'avar 2 and lahaba 2. So memela, that's what he's saying. That v'hi nechlekes and Shavuos Bita could be nechlekes l'arbo chalok. Now v'ein Shavuos. So the Pasha Shavuos Bita means someone says about something that will happen or won't happen, or he will do or he won't do, or something happened or something didn't happen. Now there's Hagbalas. Ve'in Shavuos Bita neheges, ele b'dvarim she'ef shalei la'seisam. When he speaks about the din of Shavuos Bita, the Isser of Shavuos Bita could only be when we're dealing with something which is within the realms that is possibility for him to do, or that it's possible to happen. Bein lahaba, bein shavar. Ketzad l'shavar. A person says, Shachalti, Esha Zerakti Evan Liyam, Esha Dibur Pleni and Pleni. These are things that could happen. Shalei Achalti, Shalei Zarak Evan Liyam, Shalei Dibur Pleni and Pleni. These are the 2 of l'shavar that did happen or didn't happen. And Ketzad lahaba, Esha Oichal, Shalei Oichal, Esha Ezrek, Shalei Ezrek Evan Liyam. Now over here he doesn't mention that about, in the Avar he speaks about Dibur Pleni and Pleni. Because over there he's talking about an episode that happened, so over there it makes no difference if it happened with him or it happened with someone else. Masha'inkin, when we're talking about something of the future, she'echal or shalei lahaba, so over here he can only be talking about himself. If a person makes a shua, someone will do something. If a person makes a shua, someone will do something, and the person didn't do it, so he's not over on shua's biti, because that person didn't make the shua, and your shua's biti by what that person will do is not called the shua's biti. The Rambam is going to say later, Pedikei. I'll call upon him. Ketzad lahaba, she'echel shalei echel, she'ezek shalei ezek eveliyam, zarei shtayim la'avar, shtayim lahaba. Now, nishba, so that's so nochamal. A shua's biti is either la'avar or lahaba, and it's either I will do or I didn't do. I did do or I didn't do, or I will do or I won't do. Nishba achas me'arba machlekes eila v'hichlif. Notice he said something and he didn't say it right. He said it wrong. He said something which wasn't true. Kigein shenishba shalei yechal v'achal. He swore that he will eat. He made a shvur that he will eat. And v'lei achal, that's lahaba. Oy shachalti v'hu leiachal, or the shalei achalti v'achal. So harei zeh shua sheker. That's called a shua sheker. He was nishba on something that didn't happen. Either it didn't happen in the past or it didn't happen in the future. Valzeu kiyetze beinema lisishavu b'shmi l'sheker. The lav of saying a shua's biti, which is not true, is leishishavu b'shmi l'sheker. V'im nishba l'sheker, b'mezid is leker. B'shegig is maybe carbon elevated. Shnamar v'nela mimena v'uyada v'oshem. So b'shegig you bring a carbon elevated. Carbon elevated means a carbon that if he's a usher, he brings a chatus, a regular kizba, a sira. And if he's not an usher, so then he brings aphis. And if he's a gora, dali dalus, he brings a mincha. That's the din of carbon elevated. Now the Rambam over here says that you get malchus. Now the Maisa is you only get malchus if on l'sha'avar either way you get malchus, because Lepel he's saying a shvua sheker right now. When he's saying a chalti or le'achalti, he's saying a shvua sheker. Al that is if when a person says le'echal and va'achal, so he did a Maisa, and through that Maisa he was aver on the shvua, so he said le'echal and va'achal. Masha'enkin if he said oichal, v'le'achal, so he doesn't get malchus. And the Rambam will say that later, because Lepel there was no Maisa. Because when he said the shvua, he wasn't aver on anything. Elamai, when was he aver? By the fact that he was le'achal. The le'achal wasn't a maisa. So even though the Ram writes bepashtus that he gets malchus, and the Ram L'chura spoke about all four cases, but Lepil, the Rambam is later on going to say that when a person says oichal and v'le'achal, you don't get malchus. Halacha dalet. So that's a shvuas bita. Shvuas bita is the four ifanim of a shvuas bita, and you get malchus for a shvuas bita if it was b'mezid, and b'shegid carbon elevated. Shvuah shav. Now, the second type of shvuah is the shvuah shav. The shvuah shav is nechlekes la'arba machlekes. There's four types of shvuah shav. Ha'achas, what would be a shvuah shav? Shenishba al davar hayadua she'inikein. Ketzad, kegen shenishba lo ish shu isha. Or the vala isha shu ish. Val lomet shel shaya shu shel zov. V'chein kol ketzad. So a person comes along and says a shvuah. It's an umzista shvuah. It's a shvuah. He's saying something which is meaningless. He's saying something that everyone knows is not true, and he knows it. So that's called the shvuah shav. That's one type of shvuah shav. Hashniya, shenishba al davar yadua she'en b'safek la'adam shulkein. In the first case, he was swearing. He made a shvuah about an issue isha. Now he's talking about that he's making a shvuah about something that's known, and he's making a shvuah that about this thing that it's known. Ketzad, kegen shenishba ala shamayim shu shamayim, or the vala even zu shi even, or vala shnayim shem shnayim. These two. This is two. We see it's two. V'chein kol ketzad v'zeh davar ein b'safek la'adam shalim kedei l'tzadik hadavar b'shvuah. It doesn't justify that you need a shvuah in order. A shvuah is you want to swear about. You want to say a shvuah about something which someone is not sure that that's what's going to happen, and you're saying a shvuah that that's what's going to happen, or that it happened. Masha'in came something that's obvious. Everyone knows about it. Everyone knows about it. So it's an unnecessary shvuah. It's a shvuah which is unnecessary. So in the first case, he said a shvuah which is obviously not true. Something that everyone knows is not true. Alishu ish, alishu shuish. And the second one is talking about something which is true, but it's obviously true. So Memele, there's no need for a shvua. That's also called a shvua. Shlishis, shenishba levatel es mitzvah. Ketzad, kein shenishba sheliyisate betzitzis. Now, sheliyisate betzitzis, the pashtus, he has an option not to wear a beged with dalit kanfas. So the Echad Mishnah and the Radvas say that it means that he's not going to put on tzitzis on a beged of dalit kanfas, even though the lashon of the Rambam is sheliyisate betzitzis. I'll call upon him. Kigen shenishba sheliyisate betzitzis, sheliyilbash tefillin, v'sheliyeshe besukah b'chag hasukis, v'leyechol matzah b'leili ha'pesach. Oy sheyisane b'shabbos b'yom tov, that he made a shvua that he'll fast on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Now the Maisa is, and that's called a shvua shov. V'chein kol ki yetz b'zeh. Now the Rambam doesn't say, for example, sheyisane in Chanukah and Purim. The pashtus is because that's a din d'Rabbanan. And someone makes a shvua that is going to be over on the din d'Rabbanan, so then it's not called a shvua shov. So from this Rambam, there's a diuk that the Rambam holds that the Issa of Lisanis b'Shabbos of Yom Tov is a din d'Oraisa. So although the Rambam writes in Hilchos Shabbos that the din of Einik Shabbos is only Medivri Seifrim, but there's a Rashba that says B'emes it's halacha l'meish misinai. The chiyuv of Einik Shabbos is the halacha l'meish misinai. Brought down some Seifrim is medayik from this Rambam. But I'll call upon him. That's one of the rayas is from this Rambam, that the fact that the Rambam doesn't write it by Stam D'Rabbanans, that it's considered a Shvua Shov. Only in the case of Sheyisane b'Shabbos of Yom Tov, because he holds that it's only a Shvua Shov is only if he swears to be over. This is Tvei Zachen. First of all, that a Shvua Shov is only when he swears to be over Yisur D'Oraisa, and Sheyisane b'Shabbos of Yom Tov is on the level of a D'Oraisa. That's like a Chidush. V'chein kol ki yetz b'zeh. That's a third case of Shvua Shov. And Revi is Shenishba al davar shein keir beilases. Ketzad? Ken shenishba shelayishin shleish yomim laila v'yem ritzufim. Ei shelayitim klum shiva yomim ritzufim. V'chen kol ki yetz b'zeh. So that's a Shvua Shov. So there's four types of Shvua Shov. A Shvua Shov, which he says something which everyone knows that it's not true. He says something which everyone knows is true before the Shvua. He says that he's not going to do a mitzvah. He's mimavatel a mitzvah. And the fourth thing is he makes a shvua that he's going to do something which is impossible for him to do, which is similar to something which everyone knows is not true. In other words, it's impossible for him to do it. This kol hanishba shvua shov mi'arba shvua seilu ever b'leisasa shenamar le'sisa Hashem Hashem alikecha lashov v'im hoye mezid leika v'im hoye shegig potem miklum. We had Shavuos bitui again if he was amazed that he's lake. Shavuos, and that was the Sishon b'shmil hashakar. And over there, if it was b'sheged, it's a carbon alleviated. But the Shavuos shav, if he was amazed that he's lake, but if it was b'sheged, he's potem miklum. That's Shavuos shav. Now the third category was Shavuos hapikodin. Shavuos hapikodin ketzad. Kol mi sheyesh momen chaveri biyodeh. Bein pikodin, bein milva. There's money, someone has money by you. Either because the person had a bikoden, who was a milva, or he stole the money, or oshke. Oshke means he owes him the money and he's holding it back from him. That's like oshke. And then the tovim imenu momen shleyesh lo biyodeh. So the person that really you have his money was tiveya, and the kafir bay, and you told him you don't have the money. So right away when you're kafir about money that someone's tiveya and you're claiming you don't have it, is areze eva b'leisas shnema leisachachashu. So leisachachashu means to be makrish that you owe someone money. That's leisachachashu. Don't lie and be makrish that you owe someone money. Zu azhara lekfiras moment. Vein leiken alavza. Person that's makrish that he owes money is ain't leiken alavza. However, v'nishbele al sheker al moment shekafir beit. There's besides the fact that he was kafir, now he was nishbele al sheker al momesh kafir be, is areze eva b'lav acher. Valzer nema lisishakru ish b'amisei. That's a new love of to be nishbele sheker v'negei a moment that you're being kafir. And zu azhara l'nishba al kfiras moment u'shvua zu hi anikra shvua sabikad. When a person swears, when a person makes a shvua that he doesn't owe someone money. someone's claiming that he owes him money, and you're saying you don't owe him money, and then you make a shvua that you don't owe him money, that's called the Shavuos HaPikadon. It's not talking about something you did, something you don't do, it's talking about the matzah v'heva. Do you owe him money? You're saying you don't owe him money. Shavuos HaPikadon means you're saying you don't owe him money. Halacha tes, umau chayav al Shavuos HaPikadon sheshikr ba, is mishalim is a keren shekoffer, but that's, he has to pay the keren. The Sluchur is not coming inside the Shvuah. He has to pay the keren because he owes the keren. Im Tesus Chemish, together he pays the keren together with Tesus Chemish. That's the Chidush, that he pays not stam the keren, he pays the keren with a Tesus Chemish. And also, Umakriv Oshim Vade. And he has to bring a carbon Oshim Vade. And that din of Oshim Vade is Ben Shal Yemezid, Ben Shal Yeshek. Shenama v'chichish ba'amisei, b'pikod, b'sumas yad, b'gezel v'gemer, v'hoye ki yechte v'oshem, and v'linemer be'v'nelam damer. It doesn't say over there that it was v'nelam, that it was a shegig. Is that memela is l'chayev mezid k'shegig. So that's the third shvuah, the Shavuos HaPikadon. The person was nishba, and he was makrish HaPikadon, a moment shetovei. So that's called, he was over on Shavuos HaPikadon, and he was over on the lav of l'sishakru ishba misei. That's the lav of l'sishakru ishba misei. And for that, he's chayev keren chemish v'oshem. Keren chemish v'oshem. Halacha yud, v'hu, there's this din that a shegig is chayev on Shavuos HaPikadon, is only, he can be a complete shegig. In other words, v'hu, sheyazid b'pikadon, a b'momen shenis chayev b'y. V'yodeh b'y b'shah shvuah. He has to be aware that he owes the money. Avalim shogag, v'shochach sheyesh li etzli momen. And v'kofar v'nishba, v'acharkach yoda, is areza onus, upoter miklum. So if a person was a nishba la sheker, because he forgot that he actually owes him money, so then he's poter miklum. That's called an onus. Is although legabe other dinim, he's not called an onus, legabe other dini shegig, he could be called a shegig, but over here, b'negeh shvuah, there's a special limud, that it says Adam b'shvuah, so we learn out that you have to be aware in order to have a din of chiyuv b'shvuah. It's not enough that, in other words, if you forgot that you have the money, that's called sefelt na Adam b'shvuah, and therefore your party has a din of an honest. That's what he's saying. Avalim shogag v'shochach sheyesh li yatzimomen v'kofar v'nishba v'achar kach yoda ariza honest upotim l'shal miklum v'cheinem liyoda she'asui l'shav al hasheker al kviras moment. Is a raise honest and potter, even though legabi other dinim. If a person doesn't know, if a person legabi Shabbos, he didn't know that it's an Easter, so that's called a shaking. He's chayav achatas. Over here, he's lei yod the she'asu l'shavel l'sheker. He's called an honest because it's a special limud that he learned that ha'adam b'shvuah, that he has to be aware. He has to be aware side that he owes the money and side that it's Easter to swear, and only then is he chayav on shvuas sheker, on this shvuas sheker of shvuas HaPikadon. If you're saying that you can't be chayav on shigagas of a shvuas pikadon unless you're aware that you owe the money and you're aware that it's an isser to make the shvua, is imkain heichi shigagas shvuas pikadon. The Rambam said before, by shvuas pikadon you're chayav, sai b'shegig and sai b'mezid. L'chura every shegig is an anus. Kigain shenela mimenu im chayav noleh korban olav. V'yoda shi asura. V'sheyesh li yetzli momen, zu hi shigigas. Uzdeina sheyada shechayav noleh korban. So now there's a person that makes a shvuas hapikod, and he's aware that he owes the money, and he's aware that it's also to swear, but he's not aware that when a person swears b'shegig, he's chayav a korban. He thinks he's swearing b'mezid. But he's not aware that there's a musig of a korban b'shvuas hapikod. So that's called a shegig, and then he's takachayv ashur. Those if he wouldn't have been aware that it's usher, if he wouldn't have been aware that he's chayiv, so he would have been an us. If he would have been aware that he's chayiv, that he's chayiv, and that he owes the money, and that he's chayiv, and there's a chiyuv korban, that would have gone into the gather of a mezid, and he would have been chayiv a korban. So the real chili between a shegig and a mezid is the difference. They both knew that in both cases he knew that he was chayiv the money. In both cases, he knew that it was an issa to swear. In the case of a mezid, means he knows that for swearing, for a shvuah, you get a chiyuv korban. And in the case of a shegig, means, in other words, it's called shigas korban. In other words, he wasn't aware that for a shegig, you chayiv a korban. But I'll call upon him in either case, he's chayiv a korban. If, however, he wouldn't know that it's a isur, or he wouldn't have been aware that he owes the money, so that would have gone into the gather of an honest, and he would take a big pot. So that's the third category of Shavuos Hapikod. Shavuos Hapikod. That was Shavuos Hapikod. So we had Shavuos Bitui, we had a Shavuos Shov, and now we had a Shavuos Hapikod. And the fourth category is Shavuos Eidus, the Halacha Yud Beis. Shavuos Eidus Ketzad. Ha'edim sheyodu Eidus Mom. V'tovam balo Eidus lohoyed lei. There was a tviyah. And v'kofru be'edusam b'lehi yidu. And the nishbu she'enon yedin le'edus. They weren't mechuyev to be nishba. But Shavuos Hapikod also. Shavuos Hapikod doesn't mean he was nishba in Bezdin. Shavuos Hapikod means he was nishba, even if he wasn't in Bezdin. He was himself nishba. And al there is a Shavuos Eidus. V'kofru be'edusam b'lehi yidu v'nishbu she'enon yedin le'edus. Zui nikra Shavuos Eidus. And the chayovin al Shavuos zu korban elevated. And for this Shavuot, there's a chiyuv of a korban elevated. Ben shoyim izidin, ben shoyim sheyidin. Shenamar nefesh kisechta v'shama kil olavu eid, and that's the parsha of Shavuos Eidus. And v'linamar bavamela is l'chayiv al azodin kishgaga. In both ways, you chayiv a korban. You chayiv a korban. Cipher al derav Shavuos Hapikod. Shavuos Hapikod you chayiv a korban side b'shegin side b'mezid, and al derav Shavuos Eidus is chayiv in a korban side b'shegin side b'mezid. And which korban? The korban of Eleviated. It's the korban of Eleviated. Now, Kate's the same korban Eleviated again, that either a behema or eif b'neterim neyena or mincha. Kate's at shiga Shavuos Eidus. What would be the tzir of shiga Shavuos Eidus? Kigein shenel mimenu shchayom noleh korban al derav Shavuos Hapikod. V'yodah sheshvuos zu asura v'shehi sheker. That would be the case of shiga Shavuos Eidus. Uzdeina sheyodah shchayom noleh korban. So avolim leyodah she'asura. He didn't know that it's an isur to make such a shvuah. Ei sheshokhu eidus v'nishbu v'achar kach neidolem she'yedin le'eidus v'shenishbu al sheker. Also, there's two cases. Either they forgot that they knew the Eidos. Because they once knew the Eidos, but they forgot they knew the Eidos. And they said, no, we don't know any Eidos. Or they didn't realize that it's an Isser to make a Shvuah that they don't know the Eidos. So in either case, that wouldn't go into the gather of Shigig HaShvuos Eidos. Is Harei Elu Anusim. That would go again into the gather of Harei Elu Anusim. Upturin Af Min HaKorban. So in order to be Chayiv a Korban, Shigig HaShvuos Eidos, is only if they didn't know that Chayovin Aleim Korban. They knew that they know the Eidos, they know that it's also to say, but they didn't know Chayovin Aleim Korban. Now there is Shavuos Hapikod. The Shavuos Hapikod is also, in order to be Shiga Shavuos Hapikod, is only if they knew that it's also, they knew that they have the money, but they didn't know that Chayovin Aleim Korban. And in both cases, really, it makes no difference if it's a Mezer or a Shegig. Because either way you chayiv. Either way you chayiv a Korban. Either way you chayiv an Osham. By Shavuos Hapikod, I'm sorry, you chayiv an Osham, not a Korban Eleviyed, you chayiv an Osham. By Shavuos Eidus, you chayiv a Korban Eleviyed. And then there's the din of a Shavuos Shov and Shavuos Biti, which is also, that's the four categories of the Shavuos that the Rambam said.